Okay, so today we're going to talk about decomposing fractions. And I know this is something that you did last year in 3rd grade, so this should be a review. However, we're going to extend it to a different type of fraction now. So, if, oops, pardon me, if I'm decomposing a fraction, I'm breaking it down into smaller fractions that make up that larger fraction. So you may have done this last year with unit fractions, for example. If I have the fraction 2/5, I can decompose that as 1/5 plus 1/5. You did that last year because 1/5 plus 1/5 equals 2/5. You can decompose fractions in many different ways. Now, this fraction can only be decomposed this one way, but let's say I have the fraction 8/11. I could do that a couple different ways. I could do 4/11 plus 4/11. I could do 2/11 plus 2/11 plus 2/11 plus 2/11. I could break that all the way down to all unit fractions. 1/11 plus 1/11 plus 1/11. Oh my gosh, plus 1/11 plus, this is a lot of ones, plus 1/11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All of these equal 8/11. Now, what I bet you probably noticed right now so far is that I did 4 and 4, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. They don't have to be the same. This could be 5/11 plus 3/11. It could be 2/11 plus 3/11 plus 3/11. It could be 9/11. Nope, that's not it. Bad example. I meant 7. 7/11 plus 1/11. These are all different ways to break down or decompose 8/11. Really, what I'm doing is I'm thinking about it like a number bond, which you did in a much younger grade. You used to do, like this. 5 is made out of 2 and 3, right? The same is true with this. 3/4 could be 2/4 and 1/4. Or instead, 3/4 could be 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4. Those are both ways to decompose 3/4. So we can decompose something in a number of different ways. However many possible combinations there are that equal that original fraction is a way to decompose that fraction. We can do this with fractions that are greater than 1. Yesterday we talked about how fractions that are equal to 1 have the same numerator and denominator. This means it's equal to 1. So if I have, let's say, the fraction 1 and 2/3, I can represent that 1 as 3/3 because I'm working with thirds here. See? Then I could add on 2/3. That's one way. So 3/3 plus 2/3 equals 1 and 2/3. That's one way to decompose, 1 and 2/3. Another way might be to further break down the 3/3. I'm going to go to a new screen so that I have more space. So if I have 1 and 2/3 and I broke that down into 3/3 plus 2/3, I could further break this down into, let's say, 2/3 and 1/3. So then I would have 2/3 plus 1/3, that equals the whole, and then add on the other 2/3 that I brought from right there. That's another way to do it. Could I do, oh, I could do 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3. That's my whole, right? That's that whole number right there. Plus 1/3 plus 1/3. If I add those together, this equals 1. This equals 2/3. So altogether, I have 1 2/3. I could break it down a number of different ways. Fractions can be decomposed in many ways. If I look at a fraction that's greater than 1 but is not a mixed number, for example, let's say I have 19 fourths. Every time I take a 4/4 out of there, I've taken out a whole. So if I have 4/4 plus 4/4 plus 4/4, that would be 4, 8, 16, nope, 12, 16. How much more do I need to get to 19? 3 more. So that's one way, excuse me, to decompose 19 fourths. Another way could be, I could put these together if I wanted. 8/4 plus 8/4 plus 3/4. That would work. I could put other things together. I could say it's 11/4 plus 8/4. All of these things, if I add this together, I get 19 fourths. If I add this together, oopsie, I get 19 fourths. If I add that together, I get 19 fourths. Excuse me. Decomposing a fraction means just to pull it apart into smaller pieces. You've done this before with whole numbers. You can break any number up into smaller components that when you put it together equal that original number. The same thing is true with fractions and fractions greater than 1. So before you go do the Google form, if you haven't already, I'd like you to practice this a couple times. So I'm going to put up some problems. You're going to pause the video. You're going to decompose, and then I'm going to put up different examples of possible answers. So you pause, you do it, then you unpause to check. So I want you to decompose 3/5 in 2 different ways. Okay? I want you to decompose, let's do 1 1/2 in 2 different ways. And I want you to decompose, let me pick a good one for you, 12/5 in 2 different ways. So right now you're going to pause and you're going to decompose those into each into 2 different ways. When you unpause, all of the correct answers will be on the screen. Don't peek until after you practice. Pause now. Okay, so here are some correct answers for you to check with. 3/5 could be broken down into 1/5 plus 1 plus 1/5 because 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3. Okay? Or 2/5 plus 1/5 because 2 plus 1 equals 3. I could also switch this order around and have 1/5 plus 2/5. Those are the same. Okay. Down here, 1 1/2. You could do 1 plus 1/2 or 1/2 plus 1. You could switch the order. 2/2 plus 1/2 because 2/2 is another way to write 1. Or you could switch the order. You could break it down even further and do 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2. Any of those are correct. Now, if you look at this very bottom one, I fit as many possible answers as I could, but this isn't all of them. So look and see if yours is here. If yours isn't, and you're not sure if it's correct, you're going to take the numerators and add them together and make sure it equals 12. So if I add 4 plus 3 plus 5, I get 12. 1 plus 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 1 equals 12. 5 plus 5 plus 2 equals 12. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 12. 6 plus 6 equals 12. And if you're still not sure if you got this one correct, if you came up with 2 ways, go ahead and email me your choices, what you wrote down, and I'll let you know if they're right. So what you're going to do now is you're going to put your notes aside, you're going to open the Google form, and you're going to take the quiz. I say quiz, it's just a Google form. It's not for a grade. But you're going to go ahead and do that, and then you'll get feedback from me later today on how you did. If you have questions, send me an email. Have a good day, 4th graders.